Hello and welcome to This and That. I'm Dave Lees.
And I'm Jonathan Byer. Hello, Dave. What a beautiful sweater.
Thank you. I brought out
one. Autumnal.
I brought out one from the archives. It was the one when Jenny and I wore the same striped ones, and I was looking for something to wear. I haven't changed over all my clothes yet or gone on my fall shopping spree. So for my new collection. So anyway, I've been. Do any of you just have that? Where you still have that sadness for summer and you don't want it to go away, but you know you have to. So then you're like, once I can just come to terms with it, come to terms with my pumpkin. I've already changed over to pumpkin coffee, not spice lattes. There's pumpkin flavored coffee that I get.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I will now get into fall. I was in Hawaii when I normally would have gone shopping, and I remember I was looking at some of the clothes one day, and this woman, Alina, who was fabulous, older woman who went on a yoga retreat and doesn't actually do yoga. She came to hang out with her sister. Anyway, they were my two favorite ones. They were total Golden Girls, and from Florida. And she was saying, you don't want to look that gay. So anyway, I did not buy anything from Park and Ronan this fall. So anyway, if you are new here, this is the skating lesson. We're going to talk everything about the Japan Open, the Shanghai Trophy, and Gracie Gold at regionals. And if you are new,
and some Junior Grand Prix even.
You always interrupt. It's the opening. Right when it's the tag. Please subscribe below. Smash that like button and let us know that you're watching. Yes, the Junior Grand Prix, not too much to discuss. We can definitely discuss the finalists. Anyway, let's talk about it. People are obviously buzzing about it's Gracie Gold's return to competition after a year. We've been on this journey. It's been very bizarre. It's been highs and lows, and people have all sorts of feelings and anger and excitement and projection. And so I think we should just talk about when we got the video of her practice, my honest to God, skating fans can't handle a lot, so I didn't do anything, but I honestly felt like it could have been Gracie Gold hashtag Instagram versus reality. I honestly thought that that's what the video could have been called, where it was yes, she's landed those things that you saw on Instagram, but maybe they were 1 out of 10 tries, and Vincent is blurring reality for his own personal gain. And I think that is damaging to her, because then people have skewed expectations. And I think we're seeing what a circus show and shit show this has been with Lisa Shaw and Vincent and the whole kit and caboodle going on here. So.
I mean, with the practice, I was impressed. I don't believe she could have done a lot like that at this point last year before China. No way. No. And I'm just curious, the kinds of mistakes with all these pops, isn't that even more an indicator of mentally that she was really not ready to do this still?
Yeah, well, I honestly think that it's interesting. The people that are skaters have one very big reaction to this versus fans who are she looks beautiful, she loves skating and she's going out there and doing what she loves. And I think it's a little bit more complicated than that. I think there's a sense of unfinished potential, what her, not destiny, but what she was supposed to do in her life, and that's unfinished, and she feels this is how she gets attention and money and validation, and there's a lot going on here. And I think that she's surrounded by pit vipers that are all just sucking. The fact that Vincent does all of these things on Instagram, but it's clear that she hasn't trained programs, you can kind of tell, and people that were at the practice said they looked nervous when they were going to be there, because you can tell when you watch that free skate that she's never done it all the way through with the jumps. And the skating quality is diminished because, one, your heart rate is up at maximum capacity by the third element. You're not going to be able to perform and skate if you haven't done it, and then that's when you start to panic a little bit. So I'm sure they plan those doubles in the second half, but it's just, she's clearly not preparing in the right way for competition. If she's going to compete, you have to do run-throughs. But do you think that she could make it to nationals based on sectionals having to get in the top 4?
Because when does that happen compared to now?
Let's say a month to 5 weeks-ish.
I mean, it's no, not if
I don't either.
I mean, I just don't think. I'm trying to think of how much can really happen in that amount of time, but I don't. There has been time, and there's all this sort of stuff. Some people were saying things like, "Oh, I wish you just had a small competition to go out and try first." And I was like, "This is that competition, though." Like,
well, for her, I mean, she probably, if this were a real comeback, and I say real in the sense of like, if this were a prudent, thought out, planned comeback by someone who is logical and grounded, and I'm talking about the coach.
Or realistic.
I'm not talking about her. I'm talking about the coach. If someone was guiding her who was logical and grounded and realistic and was like, and we're going to do this, the content would be different in the programs. We wouldn't be going for the triple flip. Even though you could see in the long that she can do it, but literally to make it through, she needed to do a triple Lutz.
You have to start somewhere. Like, I really thought, the Paulina Edmonds content, actually, of when she first came back.
She's struggling too right now and still whatever. But that's different.
But you know what I mean. Like, she at least knew, let's just go for clean, simpler content to kind of start this journey. But it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, she would have to be doing run-throughs every single day of content that she's going to do. And on one point, she has a starting point. And I just don't think that this coach is the one to get her there. Right, and
well, there's going to be a lot of mental hurdles, obviously, and so is this the right choice? Is this the right way to do this with that in mind? And I would think absolutely not.
It just seems like she looks stressed and panicked when she goes out there, so it looks like, to me, what I suspect is going on is that this rink paid her to go to certain events during the Olympic season when Gracie obviously needed money. She... their family life was in turmoil. So I think these people kind of stepped in and on one hand helped her, but also used it to their advantage. She's obviously the poster child for this rink. She's obviously getting Vincent a lot of potential. There's like a skating club president named Lisa who is obviously helping this situation financially in some way, whether it's free ice time, whether it's, who knows, right? Somehow. That woman also herself went to Russia when Gracie competed. So you would just see that people are definitely using her for their own benefit, whether it's to try to get other skaters to that rink. The only time that Gracie has performed, I don't think that people that are trying to use you in that way are necessarily the most prudent, logical thinkers, right? They're schemers. Okay. These are like, it's a schemer trying, and then it catches up with you, right? Like this is like, it's like the emperor has no clothes, and now you all see it, right? That like, yes, we've seen her work these things. What the heck was she doing in the pole harness when she hadn't done a run through with the jumps that was successful? Like, you have so many more important things to be worrying about than your quad sal. We could all see that, like, yes, the talent is there. The talent is there, but now the work in the appropriate way to be able to have stamina is not there. And the judges didn't help her with components. No. I don't think it was to be mean. I honestly think that they couldn't help her more than they did with the components because of the fact that she's rather stiff when she's skating a full program, because she cannot go out and sell it the way she did before when you don't know that you have the stamina to make it through and you don't have the confidence in yourself to make it through. And I think that's where...
Yeah, I mean, and always in skating, like, isn't that cheeseball thing is just to be able to be in control of what you can be in control of. And she's in control of her conditioning. Yeah,
it seems like the Lutz has always been a good jump for her, right? But it seems like there's also that aspect where she doesn't want to go out there. She's not going to do the flip and the Lutz because to her, she wouldn't feel anything if she went out and did like a solo toe, right? To like backload the content so much, I think would be probably hard for her in a pride sense. But that's why you have a coach that works with you, that talks you through, well, today we're going to put out these triples, and then we're going to put out these triples the next month, and then we're going to do this, and we're going to do this show and this local competition, and you're going to practice this every day, and then it's not so hard, and then you start to feel the success, whereas they're kind of trying to like shield her, not put her out, well, get all your jumps back, then you can train them in the program. Well, now you're trying to put in a program that you've never trained the jumps in, and it's way harder. and they're trying to like get her confidence back, but it's like in such a cockamamie, screwed up way that you can tell. And this is the way he did stuff like this with Ting, where she would be working the quads in the, and then she had her father, and it's just like a constant S show, right? Like it's a mess, and I think but I think that the talent is still there if she were to commit. I mean, it's interesting that Victor Pfeiffer, who worked with Priscilla Hill, he coaches a lot of the students. On Twitter, there's always that kid, Jacob Skates, who tweets a lot. He coaches him. He coaches Emily Zhang, who won this regional that Gracie was in. That Cody Hazen, who posts on Twitter as well, also works with him. He's just kind of like grooming a lot of these kids from the ground up, but he just has maybe not the most talented kids in the world, but he has them on a system where, you know, you do the full short and the long and the sections, and then you train. And he's someone who wasn't the most talented skater or competitor because he was kind of too tall. But sometimes those people are the good coaches because they had to work so hard to learn the technique.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, it's a different mastery of how it's happening. Yeah, it makes me sad for her. Again, I think this is masochistic in some way. Yeah. It's only helping reinforce some negative connotation she has around it.
Let's talk about the programs Jeremy gave her on a logical sense, because I feel like we treat this situation with kid gloves, Jeremy with kid gloves, a little bit. I'm sorry. If you're someone that's gone through all of these struggles, do you think that it's smart to give someone a song about someone thinking about what used to be and who they used to be as they're struggling?
It's the piece they should have used in a fluff piece about her, not for her to skate to. Unless, I mean,
even that, if people heard that on TV, they would say that's insulting, right? They would say, "How dare you? That's mean," right?
Yeah.
Imagine if you see that every day. Can she connect to it? Yes. For unfortunate reasons, you know? And I think...
well, it's either practicing like a total disassociation from the music in the program because she cannot listen to it, or she is really listening to it. And
I was once that waitress in my life after college, and things didn't go well, and then...
Honey, we're all that waitress.
And then the economy went, and then I'm waiting tables, and you know that you had a lot of talent, and like you have training, and you feel like you're not using it. And where the hell am I? And what am I doing here? Asking if you want a lemon in your Diet Coke. And it's humbling, and it sucks, and it's the grunt work.
Yeah, I mean, hers is a lot, but in the context
it's hard.
Of the show. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. We've had some similar problems. So I don't want to, anyway, you go through it, and you suck it up, and it sucks. But I definitely don't think that that's what inspire you to land your triple S.
The words are designed to tug at your heartstrings. I mean, so how could you hear them and not immediately go to that dark place? I mean, the point of the song is for everyone to go to their dark place.
Yeah.
Horrible. It's devastating.
It's terrible. So
it's like Mariah doing the Winner Takes It All.
Yes, in the same... The skating people just aren't very bright, Jonathan. They're not...
Yeah, it's a little literal. And I'm sure it would have like a moment. I'm like some viral
That's why someone like Marie
national...
France, who's like a little bit sharper than everyone else, does so well. Because there's a lot of simple thinking going on.
Takes the same sentiments, but does it correctly.
It would be like if you're Jeremy listening to music and you're like, oh my God, don't you think Gracie could connect with someone who used to have all that talent and now they're like washed up?
Yeah. Oh, terrible.
Terrible. Think about if you had to hear that every day. It's like, oh my God. Like,
well, it's just furthering the label that she's sort of this
mess.
You know, that she's a mess. And that's unfortunate because you really start to believe it, I'm sure of it.
Oh my God. I mean, she was never one to like really interpret music before, but imagine if she listened to this music once in a while when it was...
Right.
Imagine if they played her music in the rink, like if she did run-throughs and heard it every day. Right. How just like much of a mood killer that is.
Right, right. And it's the same program she had last year, so it's been around through many...
Yeah, but I don't think she's done it. So...
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we have eyes, you know, you can tell when the arms go up and you just kind of throw away on the pops that you haven't done that. That's just kind of marking and walking through. And it was even clear in the short program in the warm-up that the flip wasn't working. So they were like, oh, why don't you try the loop? like mid warm up, like mid 6 minutes. Jonathan, like, on one hand, she can be mad at Frank for whatever she is for the rest of her life. He taught her a lot of things about discipline and training and the way to approach things that it's like, you know better. She does know better.
And that's why it's a bit self-sabotage in a way, because again, Gracie's not an idiot. She knows that if she wanted to nail this, she knew what she had to do. And
that's why I think it's forced, because the only times we've ever seen her perform, regionals are at Aston at Iceworks, and that show was in Aston at Iceworks. And whatever the whole deal with Russia was, that woman was there. So I think that you can kind of connect the dots and you see someone is holding some sort of strings and forcing her on the ice. Otherwise, you'd see her at these other events. You'd see her in Wilmington and in Detroit and other, types, those kinds of situations. Maybe not those exact rinks for, whatever reason. Detroit was a bad, memory for her. So anyway, that's just, if it doesn't pass the smell test, it doesn't pass the smell test, right? Like there's something a little bit off about it. And I think that you can still tell that she's talented to pull off a triple Lutz, like as she did. Granted, she's jumping so much with her arms now to try to get the body to work and to try to do it. And the arm technique is like, whoa. And you could tell it's like the effort to put into a quad. But she did it at the end of this is one talented biatch, right? Like she and strong and she approached it the right way. You're like, maybe it could do something, but
it would be so different if she did that. Like, I mean, it'd be a different, the situation would have to be completely different.
Yeah. And someone was telling me that Victor doesn't take everyone. Like, he almost didn't take one girl who won a competition this weekend because he thought that she was too emotional during practice and too much drama, and he's just like, no BS, kind of like Frank in that, like, save your tears for the pillow. This is... Yeah. So, anyway, that was uplifting, but... I'm
like, oof.
She made it through.
Yeah.
Which we did not know if it would happen. Granted, there is that new NQS system where they encourage people to do the competitions over the summer so they can get through their sectionals. And then, sectionals is where it ends for a lot of skaters now because they're not going to do all of the events at nationals. It's too costly to hold nationals for all those days when they don't even sell tickets for the small finals. And, they used to have a junior nationals for the little events, and they've gone back and forth different ways. I think it's a sad testament in a way to the sport and how it's not thriving, that the fact that they couldn't do that, the fact that they couldn't, go back to having the two nationals, it is what it is, right? I think, there's a lot of changes in the broadcast rights with Eurosport and Canadian and television, where they're not showing some of the events. So it's definitely concerning, I think, for the future of the sport. But anyway, let's go to Shanghai because this event is a newer event where they're currently trying to build up, and they have small fields here, so we were able to get through this event rather quickly, and I thought it was an interesting event. They had skaters listed who, I don't know if, like Tursynbaeva, she's been injured. We never got full details on what the injury was, what the condition was, but we do know she's back. I don't know if there was an appearance fee or what to get them here because it's listed as an invitational. It's not doesn't seem to be a full senior B, but it was on the ISU website, in terms of points, where something like they don't link to Japan Open the same way. So what was your take on, let's start with the ladies. Let's start with Tursynbaeva, seeing her, same program as last year. So perhaps she was, I forget if she was planning on keeping this program. Who knows when the injury happened,
Right.
What'd you think?
I mean, I gotta tell you, this was one of those tough ones. The only way I could see her short program was on a Russian feed, which was speaking over the Japanese feed. Mm-hmm. So it's like a little bit of an upsetting experience. But in the short, I just don't understand why they feel the need to darken her aura so much. It comes across as so heavy, and the tights and the skirt being so heavy and black, it just like weighs her down and just makes her skating seem even smaller to me. I don't understand.
And the bent arms and the big boots, and it's like she never hits a beautiful position, and she kind of skates through the music and on one plane. It's certainly not aesthetically pleasing.
And when she lands, she almost lands at a standstill.
Yeah.
There's like zero speed. It literally, all momentum stops on those landings.
She skates like a militaristic way, almost, where like she's going to go for these jumps no matter what. Yeah. But it's nothing like joyous or individualistic about it. It seems like it's from a factory. I don't enjoy it. And I wonder how much attention she'll get from Materi now that the other girls are senior. Like, how much of a priority are you? You're still bringing in a lot of money, probably from another federation, right? They've probably some contractual thing there, but I don't think that she's going to push someone from Kazakhstan over her 4 other seniors from Russia. Like, that's not going to happen. You got the medal one time.
Right. I think Prove your point.
Prove your point.
Yeah.
Everything came together. You had a great second half of the season last year.
Solely because of that Sauka. So if she doesn't get the quad back, I don't really... the rest of the jumps are too ordinary.
I think what we're seeing with a lot of the skating, with some of the people from that school, as the girls get older, is that there's nothing there with the skating skills, right? And it's so hard.
Just flailing in her step sequence, just literal actual flailing around.
Yeah. And it was a tough one to watch. And you look at Medvedeva now and how she's trying to learn skating skills, but her skating is hard to watch too. I mean, this program does nothing for me. I actually liked her exhibition. I mean, I don't really like her exhibition programs in general, but she has a little more artistry than she gives. This music, to me, is like... I just feel like both of her programs are a snooze this year, and they don't show anything unique or interesting or different.
You know who I almost wish she was working with when he was in Toronto was Roheen. Like, I think she needs something so outside of the box to try to shake up the physical vocabulary of what she's doing, because it's all this like same clunky thing.
Well, he always gives everyone the same step sequence. Like, you know how that guy in Bring It On?
But I want to see her do that kind of step sequence, and I feel like I want to see her try to get her to move in a slightly different way that doesn't seem to be happening. And I feel like she could do it.
Yeah, I mean, the skating skills are not there.
And clunky, like the opening of the free skate in particular.
And it's a lot of like arm to try to get those jumps to happen. It looks like work, right? Whereas before it happened more easily.
Right.
There's still something so endearing about her personality, but I think that the music mutes it. Because I feel like the music is like a light blue, like a cadet blue, like a gray, like it like washes her out. And she's someone that has some purple and some red and some green and some this, right? And it's just kind of like I think that's interesting about her personality is just kind of like, to me.
Yeah.
She's a little spicier than this. I think that's why Tosca wasn't a perfect fit, but it was...
It had a flair for the dramatic, and that kind of snapped her out of it. Yeah, I agree.
Both of these programs, you could just tell that she doesn't have the most flexibility. She doesn't have the greatest edge quality. She's... Like, it's just hard to love. I think Brian's going to be in for another rough year with her.
Some edge call, like the...
Well, they're giving the Lutz the E now, which is fair.
Yeah.
I think they were banking on an exclamation point for, someone of her stature and coached by him, and they're working on it, but, it's like an edge is an edge, right? Like, it's... Yeah. On one hand, it's fair.
But a lot of tight landings, like the funky, like landing on the flip and stuff, when she was going for the combo, she just seemed a little unorganized in her legs a little bit.
Now, did you hear in the Kiss and Cry, she said that she hadn't done a program in 2 weeks, a run through. I don't know if she was ill or if she...
Or there was something where I knew...
And then he said, you're going to have to work.
You've got a lot to work on.
You're going to have to work like you never had in 2 weeks. And she does seem to be a hard worker already. But something obviously happened before this event because there has been a dip since the Autumn Classic. Do I think she can improve? Yes, she can certainly get back to that level. And he was saying sometimes it's helpful to have a down before an up. But looking at these girls now, and as we're looking at Japan Open, and we're seeing Trusova, and we're seeing Zagitova, and we're seeing Tuktamisheva, and Sherbakova, and it's going to be really, really hard for her to compete with these girls.
Yeah.
Is it possible to get a third place? Yes, if the stars align.
If the stars align, that's the best I think she can hope for.
Yeah. I mean, we did see the flip loop in practice, and to me it looked more promising. To me, if you rearrange her program in a way that she could be doing flip loop and Salchow loop and really work on the stamina and do other combinations, and they took out the second Lutz, right? So the way you could rearrange the program to get enough, they really are going to have to work on things that can get her GOE and really look at like a spreadsheet of like, what have you gotten GOE on and what can you get GOE on? And again, like now that we know the Lutz, that delusion is over, right? Like the Lutz delusion is over.
So now let's get real. Let's get real.
Yeah. Girl, those V's on the spins, what the hell? This has happened so many times. And Brian and Evgenia need to face the facts of whatever is going on there when the V's come into play, because it's
Because what do you think that is?
Sometimes it's not getting low enough in a sit position or not holding something for enough times. It tends to...
I mean, do you find that she's just not training them that way? Or it's just not being looked at properly? Like, it seems so unusual.
She can go a little bit high in her sit spin sometimes. And then her camel is ghastly. So, and a lot of times, maybe with this... It seems like Terry really trained those
But she was also missing levels on the step sequences and stuff like that.
Well, Terry trained all of those elements so hard, you could tell. And she's trying to get the jump. Had a slight connection issue. So... Do you think that she should keep competing?
I mean, I guess it comes down to what her real motivation is here. I mean, if it's to be competitive, get a result or something, I don't foresee that happening.
When you're at her level, don't you think it's about, this is her income, making money?
But you know what? Like, Carolina came back and obviously wasn't necessarily the same kind of...
She still
threat
has
competitively.
So much money, though, and she was like,
and so maybe there's a thing. Maybe she's keeping a North American contact. Maybe she'll get on some Canadian tours. I don't know what.
They don't pay anything anymore. Like, I think this whole fallacy that like we just like love skating and want to get in 20th place at an event. Like, I don't think that's
well. If she was truly just a student of the sport, let's say she had an interest in coaching, and I think being exposed to a totally different kind of training system would be so informative if she were to incorporate any of that in her own stuff. I just don't quite know what the point is. If she's really looking to win another world medal, I see it being almost impossible for her to get out of the country.
I don't see the strength in her whole body, like the core strength, everything to be doing, in her skating, and it looks like so... flopsy and hunched over. It's going to be hard because I think she is an endearing personality, and I think that she has more she could add. I think she could be a great commentator, a great personality around the sport. As a competitor, I think it's going to be a challenge for her in that sense. It's going to be interesting. I think we'll know in the next couple of weeks about what the competition in Russia is going to be like. They definitely got lucky last year with the Worlds, and I'm sure Trusova pulled a lot of strings getting there. She seems to do that, but I think this year maybe even more than Tatiana can pull off. It was a real moment. One, for her to have gotten there, and two, to have gotten the medal. It would have been such a lovely, neat last chapter. Again, but her ego. She seems to have a healthy perspective on it. Like, seeing her in the kiss and cry, I don't know that she's completely delusional. I don't know that she's completely devastated when she doesn't get the result. I think she's at least the kind of athlete that's in a place that's okay to just kind of float for the time being. I mean, she seemed to know that program was unacceptably bad, right? Like, someone of her level, right? Like, that's, for another person, for Gracie right now, that would be great,
incredible,
But for someone like her, that was not okay. That was not okay. I don't know. It was a rough one. She was getting under rotations on double toes. I mean, it was just...
but almost
those are things that Brian gets sensitive about, like with the under rotation. Right. But then you look at it back and you're like, well, that's...
And she already kind of used up her year of extra credit. You know?
Yeah, and now it's...
I think they're starting to expire, those kinds of favors.
Yeah, and I think with training, I think we will see like the Satoko loop back, maybe the flip loop. I think putting this stuff in, they're going to have to really work on the stamina, and I think that they can do them, right? But like, how are you going to perform it with quality and with quality to get enough points? Because these other girls are doing quads. And Sherbakova may be like flopsy-mopsy when she skates a little bit, but if she lands some quads, those other girls also are working to get there.
Yeah. It just is going to work out, so she's out.
Yeah. It's going to be really, really hard. I mean, she's in the conversation, but it's like, okay, this is... And
she's in a second ring, yeah.
It's just... I think it's exhausting. For someone like her, she's under a bigger microscope than other people. So if she wanted to be one of the top 6 girls in Russia, and say she was someone like Elena Leonova, who was never like a superstar in the sport or in Russia, to compete every year is, even like Tuktamisheva, it's not the same level of attention that she has gotten, right? And then the same level of backlash. And then like all of this drama and attention and ups and downs, it has to be exhausting at a certain point. That's why, that bronze medal would have been a great way to like...
A great send-off, to be like, whoa, you endured a lot and it all worked out, here's your medal, thanks for playing. Yeah,
I think it's going to be hard, because now they can't do the whole, like, I'm going to take a season off with it. Like, it's a different kind of thing. She can't do the Vanessa James year off. Like, it's... You're in it now.
Right.
Ugly dresses. So,
there
are positive things. When we get to Japan, there were a lot of programs I liked. I feel like we're on a down. Let's look a couple.
But you know who was lovely was Eunsoo a little bit.
A little bit.
I always enjoy seeing her, and she beat Evgenia by 2 solid points in that free skate. Yeah.
I mean, she's working her way back. I see some subtle improvements. I think on some of the Lutz looks like an issue. Certainly, the judges are calling it an exclamation part.
It's a bit more army as well. In general, this season's approach seems more upper body oriented than I'm used to from her.
Yeah, they need to figure out the jumps, especially the toe jumps. I did notice that her triple loop was beautifully high here. It looked bigger than last year, and it was clean. The jumps that she didn't do in combination, I thought the Satoko, which was always her problem jump before, was gorgeous here. And the loop was good. She still was doing like the Raphael pattern into the Sao, but then it looked like a little better, like a little less severe, and a little more comfortable. The flip was okay. It was a little landed back on the heel, but they're going to have to work on the Lutz toes. I think that she can obviously make it to Worlds this year. I think if they keep pushing her, I don't think she's going to have like the amount of success she had last year, but at the same point, I think it'll help her in the long run to really kind of... She obviously came from a low at the beginning of this season. I do think that this long program, very different, her programs aren't as good as they were last year in one sense.
Agreed.
But they're not as magical. But I think that they're developing her more in her persona on the ice. There's a lot of lovely qualities. I found her the most watchable of the 3 ladies.
And there's a different kind of authority to her and just an ease and sophistication. Even if the material isn't that way, she's carrying herself in like a more confident skater does.
Better skating skills than the other 2 ladies, whether or not they gave it to her here or not. Like anyone with eyes, a lot more aesthetically pleasing, better knee bend.
I thought in the step sequence, especially, it was so clear.
Yeah, I mean, messy on the combos, and that's gonna be an area where they have to work. But the other areas, I was like, wow, I see some real improvement there. I don't think that she can take Yu Young at this point, but you keep working for another couple of months, and I don't know. I think probably having Hyen Lee in the rink has to be a motivation. I think that would be interesting to see them train together. And obviously she's coming off of rough months with whatever happened. So with Raphael and all of that. So I saw some positives there. Still stuff to work on, but I thought she was the loveliest in China. And one of the loveliest of the weekend, really.
I agree.
Yeah. Too much. Peng and Jin, I love that free skate. It's hard to watch them jump, but oh man, I really like it.
Yeah, the potential is there for, if they ever hit those side-by-side elements, that it could really build into something pretty special. It has great momentum to it, but they've really got to figure that out for her.
And they're lucky that those elements are not that many points and that they do the other elements well, so that when they figure them out, they tend to do well. The throw was gorgeous. The one landing was like, oh my goodness. And the choreography and the program, it's really
thoughtful.
It's thoughtful and it's well done. And they beat Boykova and Kozlowski. I think it was another step.
By a considerable margin, and they faltered on both jumping passes. So, I think they're in good stead.
Well, the one was like a planned double, but anyway, in the dance, Nikita and Victoria, I thought they got a huge score here. I thought that was about what they can do. You know, he's still up high in the twizzles. I don't think that's ever going to change. And I was reading one article. I don't know if whoever was saying about how they're doing. You know, they've kept it. I don't know if it was Krylova or Goncharenko who's talking about that. Whatever article it was, but they were saying about how they've done the lyrical classical piece for several seasons in a row now, and that it's starting. The interest level is starting to wane, and I think you can kind of feel that because they don't have that. It's not like they have the French X Factor going on, right? Like they don't have...
Yeah, and I feel like the way we see it now is kind of the way we'll see it then. I don't know. Like this is one, I feel like now that I've seen it, I know how they're going to do it. You know, say they make a huge error or something. I don't see this program really growing in unique ways or developing and becoming even sharper or more sophisticated with the season. I think...
Generically lovely.
We see what it is and what it will stay.
The Madonna team here, and always enjoyable.
Much more interesting to me. Yeah.
They had some interesting people they picked for Shanghai. And I really have to say, I was so happy that Matteo Rizzo won over Bo Yangjin and Samarin. That was like a salve, a balm of like good feeling. Like when you have a muscle and you put that tiger balm on your back.
That's right.
Oh. I mean, his skating skills are so lovely. He's working on the quads. And we had to watch Bo Yangjin and Samarin at the same event. And that's...
I know. It's interesting, like, I was looking at Rizzo's jumps because some of the landings were a little bit squirrely. But there's something so inherently easy about his takeoffs. Mm-hmm. You know, like Bo Yangjin, you know, it's coming and he's really ready to like wrench his body up into the air position. But something about the way Matteo takes off is really lovely. Unfortunately, it's just not really translating into the landing as much because he consistently gets the negative GOE for it. But I think if you were to kind of figure that out, but he's also losing so many levels. The step sequence was a level 2.
Well, I think they've spent so much time.
Spin's tough, yeah.
I mean, when you add the quads in, not only are you adding the quads in, it does impact the rest of the program. It impacts the attention, and I think they're still working through. But I do notice that he's getting better with each competition, each time that we see him. And I think he's going to kind of be one of the wrench for people like Jason Brown to kind of push them out of the top group. When you get those kind of like, whoever gets the easy watching, there's always someone who like goes clean, lesser content, and he's doing quads, but not the same kinds of quads as Vincent or Nathan. So, yeah, I think it's just going to be...
Those Italian boys in their quad loops, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, so, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens with him. And the quad toe is looking good, so, yeah, I don't know.
Samarin, I just can't in that... the free skating with that like ghost mask, or I don't know what.
I just have
scary face on the back. It's just
the quad lut's impressive.
It was very, very good. And then to turn around and try the flip. I mean, yeah.
I just have zero enthusiasm or interest for that kind of skating. And
talking about because we were doing the 88 men, the death drop was just really offensive. That's really offensive.
Jonathan likes a good death drop. It's a recurring theme.
And this was not one of them.
We'll have to talk to Brian Boitano about it. Get him to say.
That's right.
Bo Yangjin, though he's inconsistent, the fact that he was falling on quad toes, I don't think he's dead this season. He's one of those people that's never dead yet, right? Like he has had.
Yeah, because he's someone that even when they go wrong, he kind of gets that height. Even that opening quad lutz, which happens after it sounds like an alarm is going off in his music. It's like a high-pitched beeping sound that makes you think like a smoke detector needs a new battery or something. That would give me such agita if I was about to go into a quad lutz. I don't know, but the height is so beautiful, but he just always lands like a flop.
So the programs are not good.
No. And even though I don't know that
but they're better than some of the shtick he's done in the past that was so bad. And
yeah. Some shtick in the past hit it better, I think.
I just look at it, I'm like, Vincent is like stiff as a board and has had injuries, and now he's doing the whole like going to college thing. Shoma, God bless. I don't think he's dead yet. I think he can, swoop in there at the right moment, I think. So, I don't know. Well,
you never know. You never know.
He's one of those dark horses, I think.
Yeah. I mean, but again,
as Katy Perry said, he's coming in there like a dark horse, right? So, Jonathan's like, who's that? Anyway.
Yeah, no, I know her. But yeah, if he hits it, he could be a real problem. I mean, again, the program just drones on and on and on. And then at the end, it's as if he had taken us on a journey, but I just don't know what the journey was.
I know. The IJS programs with all the same layout are really difficult to get through sometimes. It's that they're all so the same, and when someone's not special, it's like, oh.
No, and without that one element that makes them such. Now, when he hits that quad lutz at its finest, it is kind of a moment because of how high it is, but it was kind of squirrely, so.
It's funny how, like, when you get accustomed to IJS, you see something so simple, and it's, like, mind-blowing. We transitioned to the Japan Open, watching Shoma Uno doing the cover of Dancing with Myself. He does that one in the middle part of the program before the step sequence. He's just like the cross behind steps, and I was like, amazing, loved it, incredible.
As if it was groundbreaking.
Yes.
It was groundbreaking. It was so open and sparse. Yeah.
Literally a step that like beginner skaters learn. Not as obviously not performing it with that kind of quality or knee bend or confidence or anything like that, but. Like, it was like a breath of fresh air. I loved it. It was one of my favorite.
It meant something. Very Paul Wiley-esque.
Yeah. His toe jumps are still so scary and gaga, and programs still hard to get through. He made comments in the media about how it's going to be hard to go without a coach, and I thought,
right. Correct.
What are you doing?
Right.
What's going on? Hello?
Like somebody. Yeah, exactly. I mean, somebody's got to steer this ship a little bit. I mean, again, all the jumps were kind of open, and a lot of the program, even though there was beautiful sparse moments, if you really looked at it, there was a lot of 2-foot skating and a lot of kind of pretty pictures as he just skated around. Because of his skating quality and the skating skills, it still looked good and was impactful, but there's really, for someone who can really dance and move, this was not so much a program. And I think there needs to be almost, someone on his case about keeping things complex. And
he's been open about being behind this season with all of his changes. And I'm confused because he doesn't have a coach, but he worked with Takeshi Honda. But it's like, is Takeshi not your full-time coach? Like, what is the deal? And why can't he be your full-time coach? And
right. Why are you so opposed to saying it?
Yeah.
Something strange.
Something strange. But it's the same thing with like Hanyu and Orser and Ghislaine. And it's like, well, Ghislaine works with you when you're in Japan, but Orser's your main coach. Is that just political? But like, he certainly thinks of you as his, what is going on? Like, there's something always a little... Like, we're reinventing the wheel with a creative kind of expression. But maybe Shoma don't. Don't you know? Shoma, if you could go to Frank and like just go to Palm Springs and take a couple lessons from Evelyn Kramer and check the landing and just we'll call it a day. You can just be like,
get a Mary Scott Bowl program while you're there. She knows how to do it.
Mary can fly out to Palm Springs, get her a pack of Marlboro Reds, and just
that's right, and make a whole evening of it.
Come on. Oh my god. I know. What do you think Frank does in Palm Springs? I just like hope that he sees like goes to a good cabaret show with Evelyn Kramer and...
Yeah, do you think he sits under the umbrella, like enjoying an Arnold Palmer or something?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I would like him to do, right?
Yeah, he's earned that.
He has his house girl who's working on the rooms or something. Yes, I think that would be the way we would like Frank to be.
One hopes.
Mm-hmm. A nice Arnold Palmer. Yeah. Just reading some sort of novel. Yes.
Yeah, a nice memoir of an old famous diva.
Yeah, old Hollywood starlet. Yes.
That's right.
I hope that like every once in a while someone sends him Michelle Kwan doing yoga on Instagram, and he'd be like, "I trained her well, really."
That's
well.
That's right. After he gets someone who works at the resort to help him open Instagram. Okay.
I mean, did you see Michelle Kwan? She was doing that yoga thing and a lot of standard yoga moves. She does them very well with great execution. But then she did this like sideways warrior 3, and it was like mind blowing. But a lot of what Michelle does, she'll be like cooking before work, but she's in like, she looks like impeccable, and the kitchen is like spotless, and she's just like making pizza. And you're like, Michelle, how many slices of that pizza did you eat? It looked great.
Yeah.
You're the only one who, like, on the first try making pizza, it, like, is, like, perfectly symmetrical. She's, like, making perfect 8 slices, and I'm like...
She's on it.
She's got that
practically perfect in every way.
Beautiful Airbnb, and I'm like, how much is that a night, Michelle? Where are you staying? How much is the Biden campaign paying you? What's going on here?
Yeah.
Do you work for fun, Michelle? Like, what?
Also, are we glad you're doing that and maybe not those rollerblading videos?
I liked the rollerblading videos.
Oh, yeah? Great. Okay.
She looks perfect in every way. I'm fascinated. There was an article, I think, on that blog Pop Sugar where they were talking about how amazing her Instagram is, and I'm like, yeah, no matter what she's doing, she can be like...
She just wins. She
just wins. It's like not boring. It's not like basic white girl like when Meryl Davis is giving us latte art. Like, it's just...
Right.
It's not as, like, looking at what kind of fillers Tessa Virtue got. Like, I am, like, riveted by Michelle Kwan's Instagram. Her abs.
Here.
Like, you are doing the most, Michelle. You've really...
You're doing it right. Okay.
You've stepped it up. Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. Follow her. Yeah. She's nice. She's our friend. We like her. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I gotcha.
Anyway, I'm into it, and I want those rollerblades that she has. They look good.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I want to start rollerblading again. She makes it feel possible. I don't know that music is playing in the parking lot, like wherever she is.
In the parking lot. Parking lot.
Yeah. I don't think my rollerblading looks like that. I'm not just like doing the Laurie Nickel moves in the parking lot.
Just organically, yeah.
Yeah, like it hasn't been trained into our bodies, but yeah, in my mind, it looks just like that, right?
I'm sure it is, Dave. I'm sure it is.
I just do my stretching at night and watch Abby Lee yell at those girls, and I'm like... Anyway, I've been working on getting... I want to get the full splits, so I've been training every night.
Oh, okay.
It's a very intense stretching routine.
Yeah.
It's like an hour long, and I work on it nightly, but it's like my me time, so it's as thorough as you would come to expect. So
okay, yeah, from a Dave Lee's commitment. Okay.
The stretches are timed. Mm-hmm. Then there's a routine in the order. Yes. Okay.
Yes, I expected nothing less.
Yes.
Yeah.
My friend saw it on the retreat, and she was like, "Wow." Mm-hmm.
You go on. Yeah.
She loved it. Anyway, and I do the fitness Marshall videos before I do a cardio workout sometimes. And you need to see who that is, all right?
Yeah, I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I'm still stuck on Suzanne Summers or Jane Fonda. Those are my go-tos. Okay.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, in Japan,
Benny and the Jets.
Okay. Dave, no. Just no.
Jonathan, you need a sense of fun, okay?
No, I have a sense of fun. And you know what? When he started that step sequence, I was like, okay.
He does that slide.
The slide was great. A couple of the kicks were great. And then when we got into the pantomiming, like, arm gestures, I was like, now we've crossed the line. He was giving you
facial expression. He was giving you fun.
It was cool and edgy, and then it was cheesy and embarrassing. Like, about halfway through, I was with it.
It was not embarrassing.
I was with it till I was no longer with it.
I was with it. I'm like,
Okay.
He's got swagger, okay? I couldn't do those moves. You couldn't do those moves.
No,
we couldn't get away with it. We couldn't get away with wearing that shirt in public. And
no, but arguably he didn't either. But
I think, it was enough. He has swag, right? He can kind of...
Yeah. All right.
I thought the program needs work, but it's his jumps, the jumps that he went for, except for that popped axle. I was like, wow, his quads, the ones that he's doing are easy for him, and they were beautiful.
And keeping them steady. You know, I always feel more comfortable when they're doing one of each instead of, if it would just be 2 cells and 2 toes.
He looks like between 75 and 83%, somewhere in there, 85, yeah. And I'm like, Hanyu is screwed, is kind of what when I saw it, was my initial reaction. Like, if he's going to do that when he hasn't worked with Raphael in a little bit, and he's on... taking it easy, and that's what he can do. I'm like, that's going to be really hard for the rest of the men because those jumps were easy. It was like, So.
Yeah. I understand the idea of the program, but it is a total miss for me.
I don't know. I was watching him skate, and I'm like, it's his moment in time. Like, he is just at the top of his athletic ability.
Yeah, I think he's at his feet, or he's at his peak physically, no question. For knowing that this was probably... an intentional but not intense sort of preparation period.
I just he looked relaxed and calm and everything was easy and looks better than last year at this time, and thought, this looks good. I don't know, his performance ability and his willingness to go out of the box and push himself and perform, I think is quite good. I think he's going to keep developing his performance ability and his comfortability in front of an audience, and like it or not, he's becoming a more and more captivating performer. I mean, think about how much he's improved.
Yes, that sense of self, because even you see that in the Kiss and Cry, there's just a comfortability in the skin, and it totally sells as in a projection that's completely different than the people that have it. Each show tour he does, he clearly comes back more comfortable, more relatable. It's, for me, it was just the material given. But.
I mean, there's some, 1 in a million talent going on there. Unfortunately, in another million, there's Hanyu in the same world. But you think, or fortunately, fortunately for us, unfortunately for him. But you think, wow, he is really skating well. I don't know, I think I like to see him having fun with it, and I like that the skating doesn't always have to be so serious. Even though I like a lot of the serious programs, I'm kind of glad that we don't see a whole Final Flight of Men that's La Traviata and La Boheme. It's nice that we have...
I love Elton John. I just thought, also, they were just such odd recordings because they must have been from the movie or something.
They're odd recordings, yes.
I love the idea of doing those pieces. And there was one moment in Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, it's like the music was changing, that his spin was so perfectly with it and everything. But... no, I love the idea of a fun program for him because I think he comes alive in a different kind of performer sense. It was just the step sequence for me was half totally awesome and right there, and then half got a little too cheesy, and I think it's just... It
is a little cheesy. He kind of reminds me of the member of Mathletes with Lindsay Lohan, Kevin G, who's like, Kevin G, he's...
Okay, it seems like a kid from Yale, throwing out some rap gestures.
Well, I'm for it. Okay.
Fair enough.
You go. I think Vincent could have some more rap gestures.
Yes. Vincent needs something because this is just more of the same. And I know we're supposed to pretend it looks better because he.
I know the Schumans wanted to believe that he is so good. I think because he's on the Trump train with them. But
it's just sort of, again, it's literally, you can expect the unexpected in kind of tight landings. Sometimes they'll let it go, sometimes they won't, and the program all rolled forward.
I think that Lori did a better job with this program. I didn't like his program last year. I like this music better. I just respond to it more. But the skating quality is so hunched forward. Yes.
Yeah. Especially even though you have a Shoma who is not giving you the right technical content, but is skating so strongly and open and solidly that it just pales in comparison.
I mean, it's interesting to see how it improves as he keeps working with Mie Hamada working with Lori and kind of reinforcing that.
Yeah, I'm not really I guess I'm just not seeing it as much as I'd hoped, where sometimes you see people take great strides. Boyang, when he first went with Lori, did move forward. He was still far from where I think our ideal is, but you saw steps forward. And with Vincent, I just don't quite see the steps forward.
There's something about, someone like Nathan and Vincent, like, they're going to school. Someone like Vincent, like, he's overcomplicating his life. He is obviously a very talented skater, but he's not Nathan. But he's constantly chasing Nathan and trying to compete with Nathan. And it's like, okay, you started to make strides in your skating, and now you're going to backpedal because you've got, like, a lot of driving and exhaustion and chaos and, like, complication in his life to get to the next level. And he can make it easier on himself, right? And you think, like, you can be a great student. I don't see Vincent being on a lot of tours in the future. I don't think he's that kind of a skater. So you could focus on that and then go to an Ivy League school and still fulfill your life in that way. It's just, it seems challenging and forced, and it's going to be interesting to watch this season how successful it is. There's something when they send that article about driving 90 minutes each way, I think, like, I don't like to drive 30 minutes to work.
Yeah, what about your quality of life? Yeah, come on now. Yeah.
Every day when you're tired and you're training and you're like, oh, that's going to get old fast. Like that. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. And you think, like, he was working with Mie Hamada, you start to feel like you're improving. You start to see, like, oh, I can bend my knees more when I skate, and keep going. Like, a couple of weeks isn't going to solve it. You need work.
Daily.
Yeah.
Daily. Yeah, so, absolutely.
With Lori, with her, whatever you can do. And I'm sure that they're going to try to bring people in and stuff. It's just not...
But that's not how that really happens. Those are some Band-Aids,
Yeah. It's the daily work and the grind and to get, like, that improvement. So, anyway, Javi...
More of the same, literally.
I know.
Yeah.
Not my favorite programs that he did, but he is so charming on the ice. I just have never... Not my shtick. Like,
and you just think, like, at these prices, come on, just use one of your show programs and rev it up a little bit. But.
Yeah. Although Team Europe did win, so that was impressive.
He did enough.
It always seems like the North American team, it's like, even when we put the top amateur skaters, it's like, that's the event when Gracie and Ashley shit the bed. Or, like, that's, like, we can just never do well at Japan Open. Like, we have to put, like, 3 good skaters in a mass, like 3 and the pro skater that hasn't done the program.
It's not up to par. Yeah, exactly.
No matter what, it's like, okay, this seems like very designed for Japan to win, and maybe that's what this is all about. And yes, but this time North America took it because Trusova and Zagitova were very, very impressive on one hand. What did you think of Trusova's program?
Okay. Obviously, what she's achieving is very exciting. I think of the quad lutzes around, hers is the nicest ladies' quad lutz. And what an embarrassment of riches that we have many to pick from, right? Like, that's a fun sentence to have to say. She often seems stuck in the landings on the first jumps of her combos. Like, something is definitely a little wonky going on there, yet because of her ability, she's able to do it. But I have to tell you, I feel nothing. I feel nothing when she skates, and what she's achieving is insane technical feats, and why don't I care? I can't be enthused by it.
She doesn't have that same je ne sais quoi that Midori and Tanya had, where they both had an energy when they would land these jumps. Like, they were so excited by it that the audience would get excited, and they had power and speed. Obviously, Trusova does have power and technique in her jumping, but the fact that it's so routine, she doesn't look thrilled. She looks like... And there's
doing her job, which I understand. It's probably how she's able to do it so consistently.
Midori and Tanya did 1 triple axel, and then they would make the triple loop so exciting, right? Like, for her, the other jumps just feel like a checklist, and she just seems so stone-faced throughout it. And the skating skills are rough. I mean, she is using any kind of hockey player like technique to get across, to get speed, to do these jumps, And to me, the beginning looks like a Plushenko jump drill. It really does. That's not what I signed up for. And it'll
get her all the points.
That is not what I signed up for in ladies skating when I started standing these queens in sport. Like, that is not what was exciting to me about this. Like, I like to see the big jump on the music, on the crescendo. And this, to me, is just like background noise.
Even if it had been placed in more musical moments with just kind of the right momentum, it's just flooring to me that something so impressive seems to fall flat on an entertainment level and an excitement level. Even though you're seeing someone deliver such technical prowess, I can't engage for some reason. Yeah. And I don't know if that's just about her, or if that's about the choreography, or if that's about IJS at the moment, blah, 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 blah.
And I expect her to land them, too. That's the other thing, is that I don't have a lot of doubt, which is obviously a positive for her. But there's something about her program where I expect her. She doesn't have that charisma. Because when you watch Simone Biles, she has that wow factor, and you are...
Well, don't you feel like someone like Simone is like, come on, let's go do this.
Yes.
Come on, we're going to go for a ride right now.
Now, then you have Jade Carey, who does similar skills, and I'm bored in a Brady Tennell kind of snoozy kind of way. Like, it's all about that personality that's not coming through.
Well, it's who wants you to come along with them. And I think even in the Brady way, she's like, here, sit down, watch. I'm going to recreate this for you. And there's that feeling like you're with some of these other people. We were wondering if Midori's going to land that triple axel.
There's something about Trusova that's like fierce as hell, but because the skating is so rough, it just looks like you're watching someone practice really hard things, but it's not a performance, and it's not a program. And if you're a big Game of Thrones fan and you like the fact that she's skating to that, it might help. I mean, some people like
I think it doesn't, because I think it's like, well, what does one have to do with the other?
It's like the other program that she did last year. With, the other programs, if you've seen the movie, you're like, maybe you kind of think like, oh, the shtick. But to me, like, the pumping, and anyone who's, into beautiful crossovers and beautiful edges and skating and...
Yeah.
Certainly, there's nothing there that we saw in Calgary that I liked.
It's true.
It's like, I'm impressed by the jumps. But then even them, it's like, okay, you landed and you got all of these points because you just did a quad toe, but it was a little rough.
Not a moment. How is it not a moment? Yeah. It baffles me.
And I wonder if it's something about her back that doesn't arch when she lands the jumps, too. Like, she doesn't finish. There's nothing, like, fine.
Well, there's no basking in the accomplishment of it.
No, and there's nothing musical or sensitive. It's just like,
yeah.
And it's impressive, but I'll be curious to see how her body holds up, the knees, the hips, as we go forward. Because doing all these quads every day.
And she has to be putting in, high numbers. Yeah.
Think about how many she's doing a day.
Right.
Yeah. Will she probably win this season? Yes, absolutely. I think, yes. Will she, in 2 years, will she still be? I don't know. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think it's possible, and I think she certainly has a head start. But I don't know. What did you think about Satoko? So we saw her do new costume. So we were watching it on such a grainy film on YouTube before that I actually hadn't noticed that she had this star on her back that caused controversy. I don't think it was meant to be offensive. I think it was kind of like when Paul Wiley put all of the names of people on the back of his costume or whatever he did, but this was different time and landed differently.
Right.
I thought it was beautiful. I mean, the triple flip, not so much. I thought I saw maybe a little more power in some of her jumps now that she's working with Lee Barkel. I thought her double axels, triple toes looked better. So, towards the end of the program.
Yeah, in general, I still felt very uneasy for any of those toe jumps.
Oh, all the toe jumps, yes.
Yeah, and of course, whatever happens with Lee, it's going to be slow and steady, I would think.
I really liked the last minute or two of the program. I thought it was
but she's going to get buried. She's going to get buried this season, I'm afraid, even though...
I know. And it's
she's
happening.
Doing such beautiful things.
It felt like we were watching someone's last season, right? Like it was like, this is the like Medvedeva. We're like, this is
treading water.
This is as far as it goes. But the end when she uses the sleeve to like cover her mouth, and like I was so emotionally engaged in her performance through that choreographic sequence. And I actually am starting to really like how they mix Schindler's List with the Rachmaninoff and the piano. I think it's really sensitive and powerful and interesting. And I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I'm like, there's something to this program that's, wow, I don't know if we're ever going to see like a completely clean program all the way through. That's going to be easy watching.
What's the competition we say if we want to go watch that program?
But is she Laurie's muse now? Like, did she take Carolina's mantle? I'm like, I think she did. I think she's inspired.
She's clearly giving her next level content and attention. Yeah.
I was like, I loved it. I really did. Can Laurie help Rika? I know they don't want to have them be both the same, but they're not.
I don't think they're in any danger of being the same. Yeah.
I thought that Rika, there were moments where she was performing more, giving more facial expression, right? I think we said something in that Danielle Lee, who commissioned, who's Asian, like, well, Asians are stone-faced. And I'm like, so we watched it on a better camera here, and I thought, no, she is giving facial expressions. She needs more of them, but there are some real moments where she is performing.
Oh, yeah. Before the triple flip, she does some, like, lovely edges and curves with her body in a couple of moments, so she can clearly move. It's just when and how they're being dictated to her. But she's got it.
The music doesn't carry her like last year's music did, right? It's not as sweeping. She has to bring some fierce energy and sass to it. And she's also not the girl with the biggest tricks this year, right? So she's not as exciting on that sense. I think, I don't know. It's like, it's not working like last year's program worked, but it's okay. It's just, she's just not...
Yeah, it lacks a true identity. I think the costume can do it. And I think they have to go a totally different direction. Like, drastically different.
It needs way more face and confidence. And they said that she had a slight injury before Autumn Classic, which is why I'm not doing the quad Saukow. I don't know if we'll see it. Like, probably at some point, but who knows, rotated. But, yeah, I thought it was better. Like,
yeah.
How about Zagitova?
This is interesting.
It seems more front-loaded, the program. Obviously, it has to be structurally to get points, but what'd you think of it?
Well, it's interesting because this kind of music is so exotic that you want, like, a curvature of the body. You want round lines. You want, like, snaky kinds of things. And her opening is so stiff and rigid and, like, kind of posy in a Vogue sort of way, if you will, that it seems like a miss. Now, what I will say is I didn't know I would feel this confident in her jumping ability again.
It looks stronger than last year, for sure.
Much. Like, they have come out on the other side of it. And again, she's not getting through them, where even some of these other skaters we're talking about, they're kind of just muscling their way through. This, I felt very confident in her. In her jumps and the speed out of her jumps, it was quite nice because we're seeing so many kind of come to a standstill on the landing, and she really does have nice flow. And I thought the music they use at the end of it, because we've obviously heard The Feeling Begins often, I'm less familiar with the last chunk, and I loved it. I think it builds and
I don't love the program. It's okay. I like it better than Carmen.
Yes, for sure.
I like it better than Don Quixote. Like, it's probably the best program she's done. I'm not obsessed with it, but I think she looks stronger and more confident. But again, you're seeing her next to Trusova, and it's like, well, that's what it is. And if they're not going to score Trusova in components accurately, that's how the result is going to go.
Very much.
We finally saw Brady. I thought the front of her costume was lovely, and the back was such a mess. Like,
see, for me, mainly the color. There's just a wash.
The color of the fake flash was bad.
Like, I don't see her.
No.
Like, there's the color is faded and pastel, and she has like a very light tone in the hair, and nothing pops, and it's kind of accentuating maybe a little bit how I feel about the program. Like, it's there, but I don't see it.
She herself has like a nice, sweet, hardworking energy that she gives off. But it's very workmanlike, the same way that gymnast Jade Carey is. Like, it's just
utilitarian or something. Yeah. And so spend $8 bazillion and get her some couture dress that like has everyone talking, or something that gives her something. I don't know.
Not a horrible first outing, but it was, you know, she did get washed out in a field where there was a lot of strong skating. It was
based on her placement and her score compared to everyone else's. When I went back to watch, then I thought maybe she hadn't done so well. She did better than I thought, but they were just going to bury her here. Yeah. She can't keep up. Yeah.
But it was okay. It was all right. I think she has a decent shot at competing with Mariah Bell at nationals, and then who knows what's going to happen with Alyssa Liu. You know, that's those jumps seem day by day. Like that's.
Yeah, I was trying to think about like also Brady's movement. She almost seems to think of her body in like quadrants, and she moves like sections of her body instead of one movement that comes from one place and goes to the other. She moves them in shifts, which is partly that Benoit angularity, but I think this is really just
also doing that too. She had a back injury, right, early on. Remember, because that's part of why she didn't rise so quickly. Like we first heard about her, and then we didn't hear about. And I know she had a back injury, and I wonder if she can't move her back. And then her knees are quite stiff too.
Yeah.
And just very like up and down.
Seems a lot of stuck.
Mm-hmm. It's that movement quality is so hard for her. She doesn't like sink into the ice or relax into the ice.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, you want her to melt a little bit.
Yeah, she definitely works hard as hell, right? Like you could tell. Yeah. Deanna was saying that she did more jumps on a session than like anyone.
Yeah,
and it does kind of look like that when you see her skate. Yeah. Like she gets the job done, but it's so.
There'll always be
tense.
A ceiling.
Yeah. But it is nice. I think the back of it, they could even keep the dress in darker purple. I know they want to do you think of like the light music she's skating to, so you fade the dress, but because it doesn't work with her skin tone and bring out her best.
And the ice in general, it's a very pale pastel for anyone.
I think she would look better in like a richer purple if they did that, or a different color. And then get rid of the fake flesh on the back and just put a nice back of the dress on, I think. So
yeah.
Because it's not her color, and then there's that like zipper in the middle of it, or whatever, there's stones or whatever it was. It was like
It wasn't adding.
It was not adding. I was like, every time she turned around, I would be like, oh, I hate the back of that dress. You know?
Yeah, exactly. It was distracting, totally.
Yeah.
Distracting, like the logo or the mascot or whatever, which was a giant yellow banana in hula hoops or whatever. It was odd. It was odd. Yeah, I didn't understand it, but I kind of loved it. Okay.
Yeah, I wonder if I were in Japan, like skating there, if I would get into it in the moment, and, like love the mascot. Then,
yeah, well, they had like the mascot puppet, like I think like Nathan or somebody like had his fingers in like the banana legs or something, and like was making it talk and make his cry.
So I found myself in and out of Satoko's program with those commentators, and like the Japanese commentators get so excited by everything that they're like triple loop, you know, and it's like where it almost feels like, all right, we've seen a triple loop before.
Read the room and the mood. Yeah. And maybe you don't have to label it all. Do it in the replay, maybe for this one.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like an overabundance of excitement that's like a little not matching the program. Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And then all of a sudden it does play to that. Is this appropriate for a sporting venue?
It feels like the commentator is watching skating for the very first time.
Yeah.
All the time. Like, triple loop! Double axel, and you're like
it's a shock also that it's happening.
I mean, it's endearing. It seems put on. Like now skating's been popular in Japan for a long time, so I don't think they should be that excited by some of these jumps. But I don't know. They're like
you're supposed to know better. Yeah.
I mean, I know that when Satoko rotates a jump, it's exciting, but they act like that for everyone, and you're like
right. Even for Mariah, I mean, come on now.
Oh, the under rotation. It was better at the Aurora Games, I thought. Less pressure on her. She was going for easier content, perhaps. Look at the jump land. It looked like she was going for them more here, and it was like, you know, if Mariah went for nationals, I think it would be like the same that it was every other year. It's like okay,
I know. I was impressed she did it, but no, there was no reason to.
Yeah.
Convince her to come back, you know.
I mean, they would love her to, probably. It would certainly add depth and competition, but it was like, all right, the jump rotations are what they're going to be. So, Yeah.
And the program's what it's going to be.
It was pretty. It was prettier than usual, but I thought that she had a little. It seemed more finished when we saw it at the Aurora Games. It seemed a little more.
And I think maybe when she was at the Aurora Games, she borrowed Nancy's Miss Saigon exhibition dress from 1992 Olympics, because that's what it looked like.
There was just like, I don't think there was any pressure on her at the Aurora Games. I think it was like a more easier skate. So
yeah.
This is a little rough to go to Japan and be like, oh, you're going to judge my rotations.
A noble effort, all things considered. You know what I mean?
The judges were tougher than Liz Manley, Surya, and Isabel Brasseur.
Yeah,
so
we'll just leave it at that.
But I think I would rather have Liz Manley judge. I think she would bring a lot of energy to the sport, and maybe we would see skating more popular if Liz Manley were judging.
Exactly right.
So.
Yeah, more Liz Manley, period.
More Liz Manley, period.
Just in general.
Yes, just have her commentate, have her judge, have her interview them in the back. You know, that would be exciting. Okay.
Exactly.
And so Jonathan, you sent me this meme. I was at work, so I wasn't watching it live, and I can't always watch Twitter. Jonathan sent me this thing about Ted. So explain this story. Walk me through. God bless.
So
Ted.
they were
Ted
doing.
feels like our dad, right? Like he's all of skating's embarrassing father.
Yeah, he was answering live questions on Facebook or Twitter. I don't know what it was, and they were coming up, and someone said, "Is Joe Mama skating?" And he was like, "Is Joe Mama skating? I don't know Joe Mama. What time is Joe Mama skating? Is that a skater? I don't know him, I'm sorry to say." And then it kept going.
Did anyone clue him in? Like,
I don't know. Certainly not in that clip. Not in that clip. He didn't catch it. So
he's so earnest. As all Canadians are.
There's something like delightedly beautiful about it.
He gets that excited about like covering the synchro championships. Like he's a gem. He's an original. So
yeah, he thinks that Joe Mama has really good air position. And
did he make the Junior Grand Prix final? Because we certainly have the list of who made it. Jonathan, just like buy time because my computer went blank.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, we'll talk about it. You know, who didn't make the final was Daniel Grassel, who even though he won here because he was too far out on the other. But Peter Gumnik, who was the second place from Russia.
Did you see that Evan Perelstein always leaves like 10,000 aggressive kind of comments? And he wanted to know if you knew that Artur Danielin wasn't going to make the final.
I didn't know he wasn't going to make the final, and that is disappointing. Because
I think Jonathan would be disappointed, but I was trying to respond. I'm like, I think Jonathan's life will move on just fine. I think he'll buy another.
It is too bad. It is too bad because what was he, third, or maybe he was fourth at the first one? Then
I wanted to write like, I think Jonathan will buy another throw pillow that costs like $300, and he'll be fine. Like
amazing. I'm having more. Yeah, okay, more on that later. But yes, I am getting pillows. It was too bad. I love Danielle Ann. So, yes, it would have been very nice to have seen him in there. But I'll tell you what, I kind of like Peter, too, in a weird way.
Yes.
Certainly, maybe more than Daniel, who's, does those... Reminds me a little bit of when Moskvina does those kinds of weird positions, but you're like, why? Why are you doing that weird position? And that's how I feel about Danielle's spin, where he puts the head underneath the leg. And another one of the full and standing spit spin ones. It's kind of strange. And then these short program with the iPhone, Dave. I don't know what he's doing. He's like.
What about Brendan Carey doing the Muppets? The Manamana.
We love Manana.
I thought it was charming for him. Unfortunately, his skating, doing the whole program always is what it is. But yeah. All right. So we have the list up for who made it for the men. So it is. I keep looking at a different version. Why is there? Okay. So the qualifiers. What? Why am I? I can't.
He's sad it's not Danielle Ann, actually.
No, he's the first alternate. Okay. So for the ladies, it's Kamila Valieva, Alyssa Liu, Hyan Lee, Senya Sinitsina, Daria Usashova.
Who won this week, and I always refer to her as, which one is she? Okay, keep going.
Daria Usashova. And Victoria Vasilyeva, who her name is like Valieva's, but not. And Anna Frolova is the first alternate. So that's an interesting...
It's interesting, Anna Frolova. Enjoy that, because she's a rather forgettable presence. So I didn't realize she was high enough to be first alternate.
So for the men, it's Mozilev, Yuma Kagiyama, who has those nice skating skills, Peter Gumenik.
Who I really enjoy, yeah.
And Daniel Grossel did make it. Daniil Samsonov.
Oh, he did make it?
Yeah, he did make it.
Oh.
Daniil Samsonov, Shun Sato, and Artur Danielian. So, made it. And then...
Wait, Artur Danielian did make it?
No. He's the first alternate. Did I say made it?
Okay.
I meant
you
alternate.
Said okay.
So, and then we...
But we like Samsonov, too. Right?
Yeah. From the U.S., Nguyen and Koliznik are leading the dance, so that will be lovely to see. And we'll have to see if they win. And the U.S. pair is the first alternate in the pairs, so it'll be an exciting thing. But what was your moment of the week, Jonathan Beyer?
Oh, gosh, I didn't even think about that. Let me see. My moment of the week is going to be what? Oh, shoot. Dave, I feel so unprepared.
Well, oddly, mine was Shoma's doing those cross behind steps. I was very into it. I was like, I love that moment.
You know what mine's going to be? Peter Gomenik's facial expression at the end of his free skate, because he does like a scary Phantom of the Opera face, and the facial expression will give you nightmares. So
I also love Satoko with like covering her face with the sleeve.
Yeah, at the end, the horror at the end.
I was like, yes, you go, Satoko. I love you. So, yes.
Exactly.
Oh, always one of my favorites. So, what was your moment of the week? Leave it comments below. And what do you think about Nathan getting down, hold an edge, and look sexy? Bye, guys.